Story 1. I am exactly 6 pounds away this morning from losing 100 pounds. I cannot tell you how much it has helped me with my depression and my confidence. Story 2. Had to hit rock bottom, then drag myself out. I promised myself I would never go back and never have. Story 3. For me, I did not get better. I learned to cope. I was diagnosed with major depressive disorder alongside autism spectrum disorder and other anxiety-related disorders. One day, I decided that I was not going to let that control my life. I slowly started adding things into my daily routine. Took a fair while, but sorting out my baseline coping abilities allowed me to engage with other activities and address external issues. I still deal with depression and self-isolation, but I maintain small challenges to manage these so that I am able to handle bigger issues, even if it takes time. The list of achievements I have accumulated helps justify my engagement, especially when things are really difficult. I have only been able to do this by starting small and allowing space to do things I enjoy that are physically and mentally beneficial. Story 4. It never really goes away. You will get better and feel better with time and patience with yourself, but it will always be there, like a dark shadow following you around, waiting for you. Positivity, even in the most negative times. Loving yourself even when it is extremely hard. Talking about it, being open, and understanding all make things bearable. Story 5. Time, exercise, and the desire to improve. It never fully goes away. It is like a roller coaster with ups and downs, always. Enjoying the moments when you are steady in the middle is what you want to aim for. Story 6. Just learn to live with it. No longer suicidal, but still often depressed. I found that listening to music and watching movies helps me a lot. For me, it's depressing grunge music or horror movies. Stuff that is not upbeat or cheery at all. It distracts me from the voices in my head and does not make it worse by trying to cheer me up. It allows me to ride out the mood and come out of it on my own. Story 7. Go to meditation classes and take it seriously. Find a teacher that resonates with you. Don't make it too mystical. Story 8. I am talking about depression that has lasted for years and has prevented me from working for the last decade, making me probably unemployable now. My life is a proper mess with debt and other issues. I also have autism and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. I struggle with self-destructive behaviors. I have very little energy to address these problems. Any relevant advice would be greatly appreciated. Story 9. This is the most straightforward answer, but eating healthier, getting regular exercise, and an appropriate amount of sleep helped me immensely. Story 10. If you are looking for some quick tips, here are mine. 1. If you are severely depressed, you need to treat this like the medical condition it is and seek the help of healthcare professionals you have access to. This is not the same as being very sad or in a very bad mood. Do not use your family or friends to do this for you. They are not trained professionals. While support is helpful in all medical crises, you cannot expect them to do the work of actually helping you get better. Recovering from depression is about the long game. It takes time. It is like losing a significant amount of weight. It probably took a while to gain, so it will take time to get rid of it. Along the way, you will see progress. It is not like setting a broken bone or curing strep throat with antibiotics. It is a long journey that requires hard work and patience, but you will achieve dramatic results. Expect that following this advice may be extremely difficult due to the depression itself. Depression is like a parasite on your brain. It will make you think in ways that steer you away from things that will help you get better. It may tell you that finding real help is too hard, too expensive, that therapy is useless, or that antidepressants will change who you are, along with many other harmful lies. You need to learn to reject that part of your brain. Story 11. I was in a loop where any minor inconvenience would ruin my day. I changed my mindset so the positive things that happened throughout my day had a bigger impact on me than the negative things. Story 12. Ketamine therapy saved me. I had been planning a permanent way out before I found it, and it peeled everything back, allowing me to deal with my trauma instead of just living with it. Story 13. Not me, but posting on behalf of a friend. Therapy and antidepressants. Just one or the other did not work. It needed to be a combination. Also, they had a few toxic people in their life causing issues. After a while in therapy and medication, they gained the strength to cut the toxic people out. That helped a lot with getting better. Story 14. For me, medication was a lifesaver. With it, I still suffer from depression to some degree, but I can work and live a fairly normal life. It is also important to recognize when it is more or less severe. For me, it gets worse in late spring and early summer, so I am feeling unwell now. However, in the fall, I know it will improve. A friend of mine found electroconvulsive therapy to be very helpful. He had tried almost every medication, and they had stopped working. Electroconvulsive therapy was a last resort, and it made a huge difference. He experienced some short-term memory loss, such as forgetting things during the days he was receiving the treatment, but that was the only problem. Story 15. Brainwash yourself. Anytime you think something negative, consciously tell yourself positive things. I am still depressed, but it is not severe. Story 16. Medication. When it is used appropriately, it is magic. I was determined to fight. I was not going to give up like before. This is a tough thing to do, and I think, for me anyway, it gets easier as you get older and have had many experiences to draw upon. Story 17. Transcranial magnetic stimulation therapy worked wonders for me and changed my life. It is available at most large hospitals and generally covered by insurance. Story 18. I am bipolar, the kind that requires medication and has occasionally resulted in hospitalization. Also, after street drugs and a series of bad decisions, prison. I have been sober for 5 years and am very observant about taking my medications. I understand them now as the tools they are. Having tools alone does not solve problems. Using tools does. Getting better requires dedication to personal improvement, and these medications have been pivotal to my progress. I have also exercised daily for years. I do all I can to ensure that I am not just tired but truly weary when I fall into bed at night. When I do it right, I do not remember my dreams upon waking. Sleep hygiene is intensely important to my continued improvement. I am not a zealot about it exactly, but 9 out of 10 nights I am in bed by 11 to wake at 7. I do not nap. My bedroom is for exactly 2 things and 2 things alone. No phones, no television, and so on. I sleep in perfect darkness and relative silence, though there is always a fan running to offset my tinnitus. Yes, you can get better. Not only can you get better, it is definitely worth the effort. I have experienced genuine suicidal depression in my life and even made earnest attempts on 2 occasions. I have been as low as I could possibly go. Now I am profoundly relieved that I failed. My life has not become a bed of roses or any such illusion, but I am generally glad to be living it now. I cannot honestly say that I am happy or even free from depression, and many of my days remain a difficult struggle. I am certain that depression will always be a dominant factor in my story, but I did get better, way better. The difference is such a relief that even when things are difficult, I still feel somewhat good about myself. Story 19. Went to therapy weekly and took antidepressants for 2 years. When the antidepressants took effect, I improved my life by getting a new job, eating better, exercising, meditating, reading instead of scrolling on my phone, doing activities like knitting and sleeping earlier. I told friends and family what was happening. It was very difficult and uncomfortable, but it has been 8 years now and I am doing well. Story 20. I don't think you ever get better, but it is possible to learn to deal with it a bit better or receive medication. Story 21. I am 69 years old. What worked was being grateful for what I have in life. I completely avoided ruminating about the past and failures. I would have never beaten depression otherwise. Medication was somewhat helpful. Story 22. I use many dialectical behavior therapy skills, opposite action, focus on the present beauty of the day, and gratitude. These habits have helped, but also just taking my multivitamins, eating right, and exercising can go a long way. Also, modern medicine is making strides. Hang in there, you are not alone, and things can get better. Story 23. My ex was at her lowest and couldn't do anything on her own. With a little support, she got back on track. Took her 2 years. Story 24. Depressed for 5 years. Had to stop working. Gained 60 pounds. Cried every day. Felt dread and fear every day. Tried therapy, but it did not work for me. Tried medications. They worked, but I did not feel anything. About a year ago, I just woke up one day and started acting like everything was better. Lost 50 pounds so far, but I am still very sad and anxious. I do not think it goes away, but there are ways you can handle it better. Story 25. Going to the gym and overall changing my lifestyle to be more focused on health made a difference for me. I started a year ago and have completely changed. I enjoy life now. Story 26. Hit rock bottom. Admit you need help and truly mean it. Exercise. Cut soda, cola, alcohol, and cigarettes out of your diet. Work on yourself. Stop putting away the $5 item you want for yourself because you feel guilty about needing to provide or pay for something else. Get yourself that coffee in the morning, but stay within your finances, of course. Overspending will drag you back down. Story 27. I have had a few periods of major depression with psychotic episodes. Feels like your mind is in a vice of hell, never ending. Daily life becomes a war zone. It does get better, but it can take years. It's an odd thing. One day you wake and find you are able to do something that day, something small like eating proper food. Comes and goes for a while, and one day you realize you can do more things and sometimes actually have a good day. There is no magic formula. If you have severe depression, you live in fear of it coming back. As you start to think you're getting better, it hits again. I have to meditate, exercise, and ensure I don't self-isolate. Support helps a lot. Remembering, for example, that we have a body that works. Having a good friend who cares about you. Liking your wallpaper or whatever it is. Do gratitude every day. When you think good things, even if you don't feel them fully at first, you can't think the negative at the same time. I will always be in some kind of therapy. It has cost me a fortune. I will always be on medication and accept that. Story 28. Yes. Everyone's situation is different, and life itself can be hard to overcome. I do not know everyone's case. There are those who have lost literally everything and everyone and managed to continue onward, well beyond what I think I would be capable of myself. But with the right professional help and personal investment, it is possible to rise above deep depression and find joy in life. Story 29. I don't have personal experience with depression, but my sister went through a lot. First, seek professional help. You most certainly can't handle it on your own. Look for someone to help you. Family, friends, and most importantly, a therapist. If the therapist or their approach does not meet your expectations, talk to them. If this doesn't help, change the therapist. It's like a relationship, maybe even deeper. You have to feel comfortable with the person because you are talking about your most intimate feelings. Second, time. There will be bad days and worse days. Over time, the worst days will become less bad, and maybe the bad days will be happier. From my experience with my sister, you don't get cured from depression like you do from a cold or a broken leg. You learn how to handle it and trick your mind to feel less bad. In my opinion, this is only possible with help from a professional. My sister still has bad days after many years of therapy and hard work, but she knows how to handle them better, and they don't get worse. Finally, everyone handles depression differently. Just because something worked for someone else doesn't mean it will work for you. This is where therapy matters, figuring out what works for you. This can also change over time. Don't lose hope. You will get better even if it doesn't feel that way right now. Even when it feels like your world is ending, there are people who care about you and want to help. Stay strong and fight. If you can't fight anymore, let your friends and family fight for you. Story 30. First, I took care of my body, addressing everything I had neglected during years of depression. Hygiene came first, followed by a dental checkup and a minor operation that I needed. That helped a lot. Step 2 was to accept myself with all my flaws and to embrace my virtues and strengths. That helped me learn to love myself. Next, I distanced myself from friends who pushed me down instead of lifting me up. Then I moved to another country. Now I live by the beach and get to see the sea every day. That about did it for me. Story 31. Yes. It was difficult, but I was trapped in the spiral. One of my friends ambushed me and practically dragged me to his gym, paid for my first month's membership, and brought me every day for that month. So, it was a combination of a friend who cared enough to act and a gym membership. Story 32. I had to learn to live with it. Let the sadness breathe and dissipate at times. It is a part of who I am, and that is a tough place to realize you are in. But from there, you can find small things to build into a life that has moments of light instead of just gloom. Story 33. The only thing that has helped me is a disciplined routine that involves cooking healthy food, weekly exercise, and most importantly, meditation. The only thing that really helps my depression when I cannot distract myself with exercise, food, or video games is to be mindful that my thoughts are not actually me or who I am and that they will pass. I cannot say that my depression will ever get better, but how I manage it every day is what keeps me floating. Story 34. I had major depressive disorder from age 12 to 22. The main thing that helped me was time and the correct therapy at the right time, but you can only enter that therapy when you are mentally ready. I had nothing left in my life, and I promised myself I would give myself an open and honest chance at dialectical behavior therapy after years of failed cognitive behavioral therapy. If it did not work, I could end my life on my own terms. Took me 9 years to be ready. It was not a band-aid. I had to put a lot of work in, and it got very uncomfortable. But eventually, it really worked and saved my life. Medication helped, but it was not the be-all and end-all. It just stopped me from having meltdowns constantly. Now I am on a very low dose of medication, and I am surviving. Again, timing is important. You cannot expect someone to jump into therapy when they cannot even get out of bed in the morning. I wish you all the best. Story 35. Lots of therapy, patience, and some medications on and off along the way. Antidepressants never did that much for my mood, but they helped me stop sleeping and eating all the time and get more done, which did help me feel a lot better. Story 36. Therapy and antidepressants made me worse. For me, channeling my energy into the gym helped, probably due to the endorphin release after a workout. Story 37. I survived what I thought would kill me. After that, I realized I could get through anything and took action to set boundaries with everyone. I removed toxic people from my life and started doing things I want to do without worrying. Without the right medication and lots of counseling, I would never have reached that place, and I am very grateful. Story 38. I was severely depressed some years ago. I think it started because of overworking myself, but even after the stressful period passed, the depression remained. I was working from home, so basically all day long I would work, watch adult content, and sleep. I couldn't even bring myself to watch a movie or play a video game because I felt too hollow. To get better, I forced myself to go out, take care of myself, and find new friends. During that time, when I was forcing myself to socialize more, I also met the woman who ended up becoming my wife. In summary, I took small steps, forcing myself to do activities I once liked. Story 39. Sunshine, exercise, and fitness. Started new clubs that are social. Reduced social media use as much as possible. Stopped comparing myself to others. Story 40. It might sound simple, but try this. Cut one bad habit and add one good habit, no matter how small or big you can manage. I started by walking outside for 10 minutes a day to catch some sunlight, preferably around 2 p.m., but it could be anywhere from 7 a.m. to about 8 p.m. depending on the season. Now I walk 1 hour daily, quit smoking a few months ago, and am much more productive than before with a positive vibe. Remember, every extra day of waking up is already a win, especially with severe depression. Every extra minute of a healthy action is a bonus you have given yourself, and you should be proud of it. Your feelings and thoughts can skew reality. Your actions will change reality. Story 41. Antidepressants and leaving the toxic work environment are important. The latter is very effective. Why take medication when you continue to be exposed to harmful conditions? Story 42. Transcranial magnetic stimulation was a big help. Vitamin D plus sunshine, exercise, and a better diet. Interacting with people, all the things that are nearly impossible when you are severely depressed. I would imagine feeling like I had a purpose in life would help, but I am not there yet. Story 43. Sports, introspection, psychedelics, books, searching for meaning, spending time outdoors, and not caring about what other people think or want from me. Story 44. 18 months in a mental hospital to recover from extreme lethargy through medication and returning to university. I cannot express enough how thankful I am for my friends and family who supported me. I am also very grateful to have been born in France. Story 45 time. A lot of time passed, but then again it creeps back. It is about maintaining that feeling so it does not get too bad. Story 46. I lost everything in the middle of COVID-19. My successful business, my girlfriend at the time with whom we had just started planning a baby, a 90 square meter apartment, and all of my money. A few months before COVID-19, I also took a large loan. Everything I had been building for almost 5 years vanished in a matter of months. I fell into depression, gained a lot of weight, felt sorry for myself and blamed everyone else. It is true that my ex left me when everything went downhill. Now, I am glad that happened because it revealed her true nature. Yes, I lost everything because of COVID-19 and how it affected my business, as well as from clients who owed me money but did not pay. It took me almost 3 years to accept what happened. I decided I needed to get myself together and wrote down everything I needed to do: lose weight, stop watching pornography, change my diet, work out, pay off my debt, change jobs, start building a new business, start socializing and dating. First, I started going to the gym and eating healthily, focusing on a healthier lifestyle. When I changed jobs, I began putting double payments toward my debt. I also found a way to start a side hustle to earn extra income. I bought myself a few nice but inexpensive clothes. With all of this, day by day, I gained confidence and met several women until I found the woman I am now with. She is an amazing person with a completely different view on relationships than my ex. I absolutely adore her. After a few months, I began educating myself about investing, and now my life is completely different. I have an emergency fund, money invested in long-term stocks, and a side business that will soon become a full-time business. I look much better, and I have found the love of my life. I couldn't be happier. One step at a time. Story 47. The biggest factor was changing the circumstances that were creating the feedback loop. It is going to be hard to recover from anything if the situation is constantly causing you to spiral. It sounds foolish to some people, and I have had people get mad at me over it. My diet. Is it a catch-all cure? No. But if you eat poorly all the time, you will feel poorly all the time, and it is not conducive to a healthy mental state. Your body affects your mind and vice versa. I had gotten so used to eating unhealthy food that I did not notice how I physically felt until I stopped. Now, if I slip on my eating habits, I can feel the difference, and it does affect your mental state. Some people will need medications. I will not deny or dispute that. I also think in the United States we are way too quick to try and medicate, and many of the selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors have some truly nasty side effects, some of which can be permanent. I am not cured. I still have bouts of depression, but nothing like what it used to be, and I recover much more quickly. I despise taking selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, and you could not get me to take them with a gun to my head. Story 48. Sport helped me a lot, along with talking to the therapist. I took about 9 months off and focused on sports and walking, both with my wife. I consider this to be the best phase of my life in hindsight and from a distance. Story 49. It usually takes a mix of things: therapy, medication, support from loved ones, and small daily habits like exercise or just getting outside. Story 50. I did not get better. I discovered it in 2004 and have been trying to live with it until today. It is not easy. It is tiring, exhausting, and leads nowhere. I am not the right person to be positive about this because I have already given up. I do not have faith, and I do not let people talk to me about it. This is a disease, and that is all. Medication does not help much. You become drugged, you do not maintain relationships, and you live for today while tomorrow is another day. Story 51. 1. No drugs or alcohol. Lots of exercise. Recognize you are in a rigged system in the United States. Failure to achieve wealth is not your fault. Release yourself from unattainable expectations. Slow down. Listen to the birds. Appreciate the moment, even if nothing is happening. Practice gratitude for all things in your life. These are all things people told me that I thought were nonsense until I actually did them. Before anyone starts, I am not neurotypical. Story 52, medication, therapy, and a change of career. I still have plenty of work I need to do, but I can feel joy in things that used to bring me joy, which is wonderful. Story 53, some loyal friends helped me out of it. Then I was slowly able to focus on myself and what is important in my life. Getting enough sleep is crucial because you cannot function properly if your body is running on fumes. Story 54. I realized that having depression influences those around me. I feel that I deserve to be depressed and do not deserve life, but I have no right to affect others with my struggles. Also, diet and exercise are important. The greatest generation did not have depression because they lived a healthier lifestyle and understood that depression is inappropriate without a proper trigger. Story 55. Yes, I had to do specific therapy and retrain the black and white thinking. I mean, just finding what you like and working on yourself. I genuinely have to stay active because depression wants me to just lie in my bed and feel bad about myself. It is also about habits. Get up, brush my teeth, shower. Think of the things I am grateful for, and avoid judging myself as much. Give myself a hug. Watch a content creator I love. Act based on my values. For me, it's about teaching yourself to be active. Once you have this self-respect, you can see others struggling and give back as well. I remember when I went to the emergency room for suicidal ideation, I saw those who had it worse than me have love, grace, and faith too. I know that people care about and love me. I still have work to do. That's what works for me. When there's an urge to lie down and give up, get up. Don't be so hard on yourself. Get food you like. You deserve it. Story 56. Electroconvulsive therapy works. I have had it. It is not the shock therapy of old days. It is quite mild and you barely feel it. I will explain it this way. It is like a reset button for your emotional self, a reset. Story 57. It was a combination of things. Therapy, working to change situations that were major factors in depression, support from a partner, and medication. Story 58. Mine has improved a lot. Believe it or not, I had a few Reddit users check up on me every once in a while, which helped. I got therapy, antidepressants, and fixed some issues I was having in life. If you are dealing with depression, take small steps. It is not a marathon, so every little bit helps. Also, find a hobby that keeps you occupied. This helped me immensely. Story 59. Working got me out of the house and gave me energy to at least be better in some way. I was stuck at home, wallowing in depression. My ex left me and I was unemployed, just drinking every chance I got, drinking enough to throw up and pass out. Getting out of bed was a battle, and wanting to live was slowly becoming the next. It sounds a bit over the top, but that woman was with me through some challenges I wouldn't have been able to deal with alone. I've been working for the last couple of years. I'm still depressed, but not to that extent anymore. I did have a couple of relapses due to my emotional state plummeting for various reasons, but for the most part, I'm a bit better. Story 60. Therapy and realizing that my life is in my hands. I have the tools I need. I just have to use them. Try to accomplish something every day and avoid alcohol. Story 61. Kava has done wonderful things for me over time. It was strange. I woke up one day valuing my life and wanting to live it more fully. I have taken other medication, and it seems kava has helped them work together. Also, find beauty in life and say what is beautiful out loud when you find it. It also helps to acknowledge 3 good things in your life every day, even if it is only being alive. Story 62. I changed my eating habits, started walking more, and walked in general. In combination with therapy, the right medication, and ketamine infusions, my depression is the most manageable it has ever been. Story 63. I had a best friend who was abusive. After many long months, I started to let go. I later found out that many of my friends still talk to and support that person. When I told them how that made me feel, They continued to support that person and some even blamed me. I am still in the process of letting them all go. It is hard every day. I have been in therapy for the past year and talk about this situation often. For me, letting go of all negativity has helped me feel better, remove doubts, and start loving myself again. I have a beautiful partner, a new well-paying job. I am about to move into a house in a couple of months, and I am going to put a down payment on a new car soon. My old friends can continue being around my abuser as long as I realize my life is much better without them, and accept that they are not the right friends for me now. Story 64. It got bad enough that I gave my depression its own name, and for some reason that fixed me. Story 65. Medication, therapy, meditation, and understanding once and for all that whatever happens, I will not let this affect my children. Story 66. Therapy, medication, and unlearning the idea that I had to be productive to be worthy of love. Also, walking a simple walk for my mental health every day. Story 67. Yes, I have had 2 major episodes of depression in my life. The last one was in 2023, and it was lacerating and frightening. What helped me was a combination of medication changes and additions too, actually, but the first one was not suitable for me. A good supportive therapist, walking every day, and perseverance. I am older now, and I could tell myself both, do not believe anything you think right now, and this too shall pass. It does not seem like it will, but if you can hang on, it will. I am better now and very glad I did not give in to my darkness. Wishing you the best. Story 68. Running and medication. I did not want to be part of the medicated generation. I should have done it years ago. Story 69. Yes, though it was serious, it was not clinical depression. I spent every day for 6 months crying and alone but doing everything I had to do, which at the time was upper-level studies and co-chairing an animal rescue. I cried when I brushed my teeth in the morning, when I ate lunch, and when I came back home until one day around noon I realized I had brushed my teeth that morning without sobbing. It was a small step, but from there I started treating myself better. Better food, better outings, more exercise, better wine, at-home dance parties, went all in on learning another language and getting into post-Jungian psychology, learned about Buddhism, Taoism, logic, Gnosticism, and art history, and made plans for the future. That time when I was completely alone with no friends, family, or significant other was brutal, and I leaned into the sadness of my state. I looked at my mistakes straight in the face with no excuses until I accepted they were symptoms of garden variety wrong thinking, immaturity, and weak character. Once that was done, I was ready to go all in on myself for perhaps the first time ever. Story 70. I looked for love and joy in the smallest things. A sun catcher my mother gave me without thinking. My friend's little trinket I have kept for 10 years. The way dust looks in the morning sunlight when I wake up. Concentrate on that feeling and allow yourself small joys. Gratitude will show you how to put one foot in front of the other. Story 71. I think the main problem is we always remember how our life was without depression, and we will never be that person again. After healing, you must focus on how you can create something new and positive about yourself in your mind, and it will work. Story 72. I'll be completely honest, medication. Therapy helped. Finding out what depression even was and that it was treatable was a revelation. But actually getting a prescription and starting to take it was the big change for me. That's not to say it's a magical cure-all or that it will work the same for everyone as it did for me. I hate it when people, shows, or media say, "Ugh, you don't need those nasty pills. They only suppress the real you. Get some sunshine and exercise." That's all you need. Sunshine and exercise do help. The problem is getting out there in the first place. If your internal monologue is constantly telling you that you are worthless, ugly, and disgusting, and the best thing you can do is stay inside where no one ever has to deal with the imposition of your presence again, that's a big ask. That is what I experienced. What my medication did was quiet that voice a bit. Not completely. I still had the thoughts but was able to see how they were wrong. Once I could do that, I could argue back. Your friends all secretly hate you. Oh really, brain? All of them? Weird that they are still asking to hang out then. It is not a perfect solution, and I still struggle once in a while. But when I look back, I do not think I could have broken through that self-talk barrier without the help my medication provided. Story 73, therapy. Lots of therapy. Then I got a job and a girlfriend and stopped worrying about money and feeling lonely. That helped a lot. The thing about depression, in my experience, is that life just kind of stops and you start wasting away while your life falls apart around you. The key for me was keeping on working on the things that made me depressed, even though it felt hopeless. It is a journey, and while you cannot see the light at the end of the tunnel, you have to keep moving. It is only at the very end you start to see the light coming around the bend, but you have to keep going to get there. I promised myself that I would never go back. I know how dark it gets. I can still remember and feel it deep down. I am not going back. Story 74. In addition to psychiatric medications, iron supplementation helped a lot. Iron deficiency is associated with several severe mental illnesses. I recommend getting tested for that if possible. Your doctor might say that 20 to 30 nanograms per milliliter of ferritin is acceptable, but over 100 is more likely optimal. Story 75. By improving my life. I think we like to pretend depression is always the result of something wrong with our brain. Sometimes, like in my case, there was nothing wrong with my brain. My brain was correct that my life was difficult and was telling me that constantly. Being out of shape, eating unhealthy food, having a job I hated, no friends, and no social life were the causes of my depression. Story 76. I used a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor for a couple of years. During that time, I worked on building good habits with exercise, meditation, and therapy in preparation for stopping the medication. I have been off the medication for 6 months now, and it seems to have worked. I still feel down from time to time, but it only lasts until I sleep. I could not have built the habits without the medication. Story 77. In Canada, we have an organization called the John Howard Society that provides counselors of various kinds, a doctor, and a psychiatrist who visits a few times a month for mental health diagnoses and transgender care. They offer different groups and many other services depending on the location. They help youth from around age 10 up to young adults as old as 24. I went to them when I was 18, soon to be 19, because I had heard they were free and less formal when it came to signing up. Previously, I had been in the child, youth, and mental health system in another place, and they failed me terribly. That system required a lot of paperwork, needed a parent involved, kept in contact with parents, and switching counselors was a nightmare. At the John Howard Society, I answered some basic questions on a tablet, provided at least one emergency contact, and was able to see a walk-in counselor who helped me build a file over time. They even coordinated with my doctor. They made me feel secure. No one could call and ask if I was there. The only reason for contacting anyone was if I was a danger to myself or others. I was in full control, and only a few things required parental sign-off since I was a minor. With more freedom because they weren't governed by the same youth and mental health regulations, I was assigned an outdoor counselor. She could drive us to a trail for a walk and schedule appointments, picking me up and dropping me off wherever I needed. That place saved me in many ways. After 3 walk-in counselor visits, I was recommended to a psychiatrist, diagnosed, and prescribed the medication I desperately needed. It would have taken much longer to get even one diagnosis through the child, youth, and mental health system, let alone an assessment. Instead of jumping through hoops just for someone to look at me and likely neglect me as they had for most of my life, this place gave me hope. They not only saw me but also attended to the mental wounds that had been open for years. Sometimes people don't realize that depression can feel like a hole too deep to climb out of, and that it often takes someone else to throw a rope so we can climb out and slowly heal ourselves. I'm glad I found them before making a permanent choice. While I still battle with depression, I am much better than I used to be, and my bed no longer feels like it's holding me down. I didn't plan to live past 19. Now I am 21. Story 78. When I reached the game over level depressed, I decided to give therapy another try. I found the right therapist and she helped a lot. Story 79. Psychedelics. I had treatment-resistant depression. I tried many different medications for years, with multiple psychiatric ward stays. Nothing really worked. My life was a perpetual misery, and I only kept living for my cat. Then I took 275 milligrams of acid this winter. and it pulled me out of years-long depression in a matter of hours. I have been essentially depression-free for 4 months now and feel like myself again for the first time since I was a child. I now tell everyone not to give up before trying psychedelics. They are miracle drugs, and it is criminal that they are illegal. I am 100% convinced that many lives were lost needlessly because of these laws. Story 80. The only way out is through. Stop everything that distracts you from the weight of it and feel it all. And I mean physically. Your blood will feel like dense mud. As you do that, you will shed the part of you that needs to die in order for you to realize what you want out of life and what you must do to give that to yourself. It still will not go away, but as you work on the things that you have understood to be important to you, the despair grows weak against your new sense of self. Story 81. Change your surroundings, move somewhere else. Trust your gut and drop any high expectations. Just live below your means and enjoy the small things in life. Also, cut out people who drag your vibe down and only connect with like-minded ones. Story 82. The phrase severe depression was my brother's words all the time. He committed suicide in 2017. He was a handsome guy, tall, with all his hair, spoke well but was depressed due to past history and could not get over it. Bullying in Catholic school, my mother yelling at us, inability to find a job, and a few other issues contributed. I never thought those problems were serious enough to dwell on for 50 years. He refused to go to therapy. Story 83. For me, it was about a decade of weekly therapy. First, finding the root cause of the self-hatred. There was never an instant, I'm cured moment. But there was a first moment when I looked back and realized that I had not been suicidal in over a year. That was the first time I felt a sense of relief and satisfaction that is hard to describe. Personally, I also connected with Taoism along the way as a method to handle much of the neglect and trauma I experienced when I was younger. I would not recommend it for everyone, but you need something that can create a shift in your perspective over time. That can be a better friend group, a healthy hobby, a religion, a new philosophy, or something else. It all depends on what works for you, but definitely therapy. Just do not expect it to be quick. You need to be able to shift your entire perspective, not just temporarily but foundationally, and that will take years. Story 84. I did. I was close to ending it all and had no future. I went to therapy, ended my relationship, cut off toxic people, and started being honest with the ones I loved. What helped me most was differentiating between my thoughts and the depression. The last time I had these bad thoughts was 3 years ago. It gets better, I promise. Story 85. I did not brush my teeth for 2 years. I did not brush my hair. I gained weight. Now I feel better, although I am sick today. However, I still feel better. Story 86. Therapy, medication, and physical activity. Medication helped me sleep, which helped me think more clearly to express what I needed to let out. Physical activity helped release unchecked energy caused by anxiety. Takes time, but it is possible. You do not get cured, but you gain tools and strength to guide your boat across rough waves. Story 87. Time like 10 years. Looking back, cutting off the source of my depression would have helped, which was my own family. Not all depressions have a source, and often you have to find it, sometimes with therapy. The problem with depression is that taking a step is a huge effort and often seems pointless. In that case, my friends helped me. To summarize, extremely good friends or time. I don't know a single person who took medication and got better in the long term. Story 88. Ayahuasca ceremonies lasting 3 to 4 weeks in the jungle of Peru with authentic shamans from the Shipibo tribe. Story 89. I've had low testosterone my whole life, born with Klinefelter syndrome. I have recently been taking testosterone injections and have only had 2 doses. I feel a lot better, or at least my depression is not generalized anymore. I cannot stress this enough. These are prescribed by a doctor after taking a full blood, urine, and stool test. Story 90. I stopped trying to just treat it with medication. I finally got into therapy. I was diagnosed with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder and started the correct medication. It is a whole new world. Story 91. I stayed in a mental hospital and then underwent therapy. I had to pause my studies for 2 years with a lot of therapy, medication, and personal growth to get better, and I can surely say it was totally worth it. Story 92. I had to stop going to university at age 21. I am now 30 and have been off antidepressants for 7 months. That shows the severity of my condition. My depression was mostly fatigue. Most of the time, I felt like a blur and was constantly tired. Counseling did not help, but cognitive behavioral therapy did. A therapist suggested I change my antidepressant because I was not improving. They eventually switched me from sertraline to escitalopram, and I started to improve slightly. I tried walking for 20 minutes a day several years in because I used to sleep all day and had no energy. Took me years to reach that point, and it mostly felt like a waiting game. I took free online courses to try to feel like I was still capable. Eventually, I chose courses I was truly interested in during the COVID-19 pandemic. I had the energy to complete counseling diploma courses. I felt I understood depression better than my counselors and wanted to be the change and help I needed but did not receive. Taking the counseling courses helped me become my own therapist, providing knowledge and insight. I believe this was the turning point. I got a job, but my employer relocated, and I could not move, so I focused fully on finishing my counseling training. Depression was not as bad then, but still not great. Over the following 2 years, it gradually began to disappear. I stopped taking antidepressants around May last year, qualified as a counselor around June, and started working in November when the medication was fully out of my system. I worked part-time due to fear of possible relapse. The job is in retail and physically active, so I lost weight. It also put me in a position to talk regularly with the public. I feel happier than ever. It just gradually got better, but what helped me most was being physical, having a sense of purpose, and gaining self-understanding. Most of it felt like time was the real healer. Story 93. I have been on sertraline for about 8 years now. I do not get as anxious and I handle stress a lot better. But I have gained a significant amount of weight. One part of me thinks everyone should be on medication like this for a more relaxed and less hostile society. Then I wonder why we should need medication to cope with life. I am happy being on them, to be honest, but I also support legalizing all recreational drugs, having used a fair amount in the past. No, it was not recreational drugs that led to my depression and anxiety. That was due to a divorce in which I was financially drained and had to fight for my children because the laws are outdated. My point: do not disable yourself. Do not worry about what others do, and most importantly, do not worry about what others think. The biggest prison we have is exactly that: worrying about what others think. Good luck. Story 94. I don't know. One day, you wake up and realize no one is coming to pick you up off the floor. You have to do it yourself. Story 95. Check if you have complex post-traumatic stress disorder by any chance and not regular depression, as it requires different treatment. I was stuck treating my severe depression when I learned it was complex post-traumatic stress disorder all along. It helped. Story 96. I focus on running and exercise, ensuring I sleep properly. I engage in multiple hobbies for relaxation and participate in eye movement desensitization and reprocessing therapy. Story 97. Me, depressed at 8 and suicidal from 11. Somehow stayed alive. Then at 22, I experienced some major life-changing events, and I guess I kind of broke the depression. I do not know. It was weird, like waking up after a really long time slowly, but I felt truly alive for the first time in so long. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.